Alright, what's up YouTube? So today we're going to be talking about how to build junglers. So mostly assassins, and we're going to throw in a mage and a couple warriors for good measure because they get played in the jungle a lot. But basically this is a very intro level beginner guide to just like if you're new to Smite or new to jungle and you're just not sure how to build either at all or how to build junglers specifically. I just want to give you kind of an intro, sort of the mindset of how junglers work, and I'm going to go through each character and kind of give you a sense of how they play and what you're kind of looking to do with your build. So I'm not going to give you like one like set build for each character. It's like play this or do this build and you're going to win every game, because that only holds up for so long, and then when you need to like react to a situation, you're not going to know how to do that. So rather, I just want to give you guys a sense of like how to like understanding how to build, and just kind of what you're looking to do with the different characters, so you can sort of, you'll be able to develop builds that won't, at the very least, won't steer you wrong. And then you can sort of, as you start to understand them better, you can improve them and adapt them to specific situations. So, I'm gonna do the assassins last. First, I just want to knock out the few that are different. There's one mage and two warriors that get played in the jungle a lot. So I'm gonna start with Ao Kuang. So Ao Kuang is a mage, but he's really more of a magical assassin because he's melee and he does insane amounts of burst damage. So really what you're looking to do with Ao Kuang is be able to get on top of somebody and then just delete them as fast as you can. So you want to get in the back line, find a squishy target, and just eliminate them. So the ways you do that, he has his 3 does a lot of damage and also procs on hit effects, which means that like anything that like your basic attacks proc, like Polynomicon or things like that, most notably Polynomicon, this is going to proc that, so it's gonna do the damage from that. He has an auto attack stim that does an insane amount of damage. There's 6 dragons that he can attack with and does a lot of damage. His 1 does a lot of damage, and then his ultimate is a 30% health execute. So basically, if you blink onto someone, you want to be able, at the end of the game, you want to be able to just use your 3 and your 2 on them really fast, and then ult them and kill them. So we're looking for a lot of burst damage. So what that means is that you're going to be building penetration boots. I think it's Shoes of the Magi. I'm not sure if that's right though. But the purple boots, the penetration. I like to build Dynasty Plate Helm for a little bit of defense, and then it's a really cheap early item that mages can get that gives them a really big power spike after they finish that item, and it gets you online quicker. And then after that, I go into Obsidian Shard, Polynomicon, Soul Reaver, and Rada Tahuti. These are just standard, really high damage, burst damage items for a mage. It's going to allow Ao Kuang to do a lot of damage. So I know I said I was going to give you specific builds. For Ao Kuang, though, this is a pretty standard build that most people build. So you can pretty much build that almost all the time and you won't go wrong. Very occasionally you can switch it up if something calls for it, but most of the time you can just build that on Ao Kuang and you'll be fine. Warriors, there's Nike, who's brand new. Nike has very strong scaling on her 1, so you're looking to build, but she's also a warrior, so she's not going to one-shot people, so you want to have a good mix of damage and defense so you can stay in the fights while still doing some damage. So I like to build Warrior Tabby, and then a lot of power, penetration, and some defense. So, you're looking at things like Jotun's Wrath, you're looking at Brawler's Beat Stick, Titan's Bane, Breastplate of Valor, what's the Bulwark of Hope, Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord. These are all good defense items. Pestilence, if they have a lot of healing. You could even buy Voidstone, or not Voidstone, Void Shield. I wouldn't buy Hydras on her, because her auto attacks, she doesn't really auto attack cancel a lot. But those are kind of things that you're looking at for her. And then Erlang Shen. So Erlang Shen is very different from Nike. He does not scale well with power. He is an auto attack character. So you want to build some attack speed on him. And also a little bit of defense too, because again, he has to be in the fight and sort of stay in the fight for a little while to do enough damage. He's really strong, but you need to be able to stay in the fight a little bit. You can't just immediately burst someone down. I mean, if you're really ahead, you can, but usually it's going to take a little bit of time to kill someone, not like an Ao Kuang or something. So you want to be building attack speed. You're looking at items like, again, Warrior Tabby. Warrior Tabby is pretty standard on assassins. There's not a lot of assassins where you won't build Warrior Tabby. But Warrior Tabby, you're looking at Ichevol, Kinsize, not usually Hasten Fatalis. But Wingblade is good, Executioner is good. You could get Titan's Bane if you want that extra penetration. Breastplate of Valor is good. Witchblade is good. Frostbound Hammer can be good. And magical defense of any kind. Just any sort of, whatever defensive items you want to feed in there kind of work. But you want to have, probably a mix of like 3 to 5 damage items, attack speed items, and then 1 to 3 defense items, depending on how the game's going and how tanky you want to be versus how damaging you want to be. So that's it for the non-assassins. Now I'm going to go into Arachne. Arachne is a very auto attack based character. She has her 1, which is an auto attack stem, her 2, which is an auto attack stem, her 3, which is basically a slow, which allows her to get more auto attacks off, and then her ultimate is mostly used as an escape or a chase down. But most of her damage is coming from her 1 and her 2, which are auto attack stems. So you want to focus on her auto attacks. So again, you're going to be building Warrior Tabby. A lot of people build Ninja Tabby on Arachne because she's auto attack based, but you don't really want to do that because her first ability, which shows her most damage, and it's the one that you're going to max out first, it does initial burst damage, which scales based on your physical power. It does dot damage, which scales based on your physical power, and it has a heal, which scales based on your physical power. So at the very beginning, having Warrior Tabby is actually really good because you heal a lot, and it allows you to basically box anybody on the map. You can 1v1 anybody and do a lot of damage. So it's really good. And then once you sort of transition past that, you're then looking to do some more sustained damage with auto attacks. So you're going to be looking at things like Heartseeker is really good on Arachne because it's a quick early power spike. Stone-Cutting Sword is really good. Itchable can be good. Concise is a must. You want to have Concise in every build. And almost all the time you want to have Stone-Cutting Sword in there too. Executioner can be good. You can put in a defense item, maybe one and maybe 2, but usually just 1. So you probably want a hybrid item like a Spirit Robe or a Hide of the Urchin or Mantle of Discord. But if they're very centered around one kind of damage on the other team, you can go like a Breastplate of Valor or a Bulwark of Hope if that's what you need. I don't usually build crit on Arachne because she doesn't need it. Squishies, she bursts down really quickly, and tanks, she's pretty good at shredding because you're going to build some penetration on her, or some protection shred. So you don't really need the crit, but you can if you want, if you're screwing around. But if you're really trying to win, I wouldn't normally build crit on her because she just doesn't really need it. A Wheelix. Okay, so there are a couple different ways to build a Wheelix. Some people like to build her auto attack based. Some people like to build her ability based. And I try to say there's no wrong answer, but there really kind of is because a Wheelix is an ability-based god and should be built ability-based because she does insane amounts of burst damage with her abilities and her combos. So, again, you're looking at Warrior Tabby because power boots. You want Jotun's Wrath. One of the best items that's for assassins in general right now, but particularly a Wheelix because it synergizes so perfectly with her kit. I think this item is tailor-made for a Wheelix, is Hydra's Lament. You could build Hydra's Lament on Arachne too if you wanted, by the way, but it's not really a must. But Hydra's Lament is great because every time you use an ability, it increases the damage that you do with your next auto attack. And with a Wheelix, you are forced to auto attack basically between every ability that you use. So you're going to auto attack somebody, knock them up, auto attack again, flip them, auto attack again. And if you build Hydra's Lament, you might have killed them by that point. So Hydra's Lament is perfect for a Wheelix. You want to get that. If you're not getting it right after boots, you're getting Jotun's Wrath, and then you're getting Hydra's Lament almost all the time. Aside from that, you want to build, again, with an ability-based character, you want to have a lot of power and pen, so you're looking at things like Brawler's Beat Stick, Titan's Bane. You could build Crusher if they don't have a lot of healing, or if you might see yourself split pushing, or if you just need more power and pen. Void Shield you can build defense items. Again, you're probably only going to want to build one defense item on a Wheelix most of the time, if any, so you're looking at probably a hybrid item, again, Spirit's Robe, Hide of the Urchin, Mantle of Discord, something like that. I don't love Magi's Blessing, but in very, very specific situations, it can be good. But yeah, that's sort of what you're looking for there. Bakasura is more like Arachne. He's very auto attack based. Although with Bakasura, you can actually build Ninja Tabby because he doesn't really have his only ability that scales with power is his leap, and it's not the main source of your damage. Your main source of your damage is your auto attacks. Particularly because you have true damage. And since you have true damage, you want to get that true damage off as much as possible because it's not a certain number of hits, it's an amount of time, so you want to have a lot of attack speed, and you want to be able to stick to people. So you're looking at things like Warrior or Ninja Tabby. That's kind of a personal preference. You can do either one. But Concise is a must. Hasten Fatalis is almost a must on him. You can get Winged Blade, you can get Executioner, you can get Itchable, Titan's Bane if you want. Other attack speed items, I'm drawing a blank. You can get Heartseeker if you want as an early power spike. You get Stone-Cutting Sword, things like that. So those are all options for Bakasura. Not really building a lot of defense on him. You could build one item if you want. Bastet is very ability based. She does an insanely high amount of damage, but she doesn't have a lot of control. So she's not the best in late game team fights, but she does a lot of damage early in the early and mid game. And you want to build her with a lot of power and penetration, and then late game she can be a really good split pusher. So people kind of see this as a scummy tactic, but it does work. I don't like split pushing. just because I'm not good at it and it's not fun for me, but a lot of people do it. And a lot of people, the thing about Bastet is even if you fall behind with her, she's always relevant because you can go split push towers. So even if your team is losing fights, you can still trade out by getting towers with her. And the reason for that is because her ultimate is that she throws out 3 cats, basically, that chase things down. And if you throw those on the tower, they have a lot of health, so they can tank the tower for a long time. And they also attack the tower, so you can let the cats tank the towers, and you can attack them. So you don't have to have, like, minions on the tower to kill it. So that's why you can split push with her. But in terms of what you're building all power and penetration, because you want her. She has 4 damaging abilities, and she's all ability based. So you want her abilities to just hit as hard as possible. So again, you're looking at Warrior Tabby, Jotun's Wrath. You can build Hydra's Lament on her if you want, because it's pretty good on Assassins right now. Brawler's Beat Stick, Crusher. If you're going to split push, you need to have Crusher. It is the best split pushing item in the game. Even if you're not going to split push, you can still build it if you want, because it's good for the power and penetration. But if you are going to split push, you need it. You want Titan's Bane. Titan's Bane is a must. You can build Void Shield if you want. You can build Transcendence, and some people do it because she has very good scaling with physical power. The thing is that I don't love stacking Transcendence in the jungle because it takes a little bit longer to stack in the jungle. You can do it. It's just going to take a long time to get online, and it really slows down your sort of power curve, your progression into the late game. So if you're way ahead, you could build Transcendence, but I wouldn't do it all the time. Camazotz. Camazotz is kind of similar to Bastet. He has less mobility, but he does an insane amount of damage and has no crowd control whatsoever. But again, he scales really well with physical power. He's 70% scaling there, 130% scaling, 100% scaling when you combine the damage and the heal, and then this hits 3 times, so 120% scaling. So he's got insane amounts of scaling with physical power. So again, you're doing the same thing as you're doing with Bastet and Awilix. You're building all power pen, so same items basically that I said for them. You can weave in a defense item or 2 if you want, but other than that, you're building the Warrior Tabby and then all those power and penetration items that I mentioned for Bastet and Awilix. Fenrir. Fenrir is kind of an interesting character. He can be built super damagey, he can be built super tanky, or he can be built kind of a mix of the two, like sort of a bruiser type. Usually I go for the mix, because what Fenrir does is he is very powerful early game and does a lot of ability-based damage early game. He has very high base damage on his abilities. So you want to build him ability-based early, but then in the late game, his ability damage kind of falls off. So you either want to transition into sort of a tanky frontliner or an auto attack based character, one of the two. So early game, you're still looking at, the Warrior Tabby, the Jotun's Wrath. Not so much Hydra's Lament, but you could get it if you want, but, Brawler's Beat Stick is good. And then you kind of want to transition into either some sort of auto attack based stuff, so like Executioner, what else? Wing Blade you can get, I've mentioned the auto attack based things, Stone Cutting Sword you can get, all those different kinds of things. Or you can start building into some sort of defense. You can get like a Breastplate of Valor, Bulwark of Hope, some sort of hybrid defense item, and maybe a Titan's Bait at the end just to give you some penetration. That's usually what I like to do. I like to go that bruiser hybrid kind of thing. But there are a bunch of different ways you can play Fenrir. Humbats. Humbats is very good team fighting god, and his goal is basically to throw his ultimate down in the middle of a big team fight and then pick a target out and just explode them immediately. And so one of the things with Humbats is that every time he uses an ability, his next auto attack has an increased chance to crit. I think it's 15 or 30%. I don't remember which. I should know this. 30% increased critical strike chance. So you want to have crit on Humbats, but you don't need a lot because you get that critical strike chance passively, and you're going to be auto attacking sort of like in between abilities a lot, so you're going to have that extra crit chance a lot. So you basically want to build one one crit item on him, and it's going to be Deathbringer usually. You can build 2, but you don't really need to. And then again, you're looking for a lot of power and penetration. You want Warrior Tabby, all the power penetration items that I mentioned, and Hydra's Lament is also very good on Humbats because he auto attacks in between his abilities a lot, kind of like a Awilix. Kali. Kali is probably the biggest late game hyper carry in the game. She is all auto attack based completely, and you want to build her for attack speed and auto attack damage. So on Kali, the 3 things that are a must are either Warrior Tabby or Ninja Tabby. Almost everybody builds Warrior, but you can get away with Ninja Tabby if you want. You don't really need it though because you're going to be building all attack speed on her anyway. So Warrior Tabby is a better early game power spike. And then you need Kin Size and you need Hasten Fatalis. Those are absolutely mandatory in Kali. You cannot stray away from that, or you're just making it harder for yourself. The reason being that she auto attacks really, really fast, so the Kin Size gets the most benefit, basically, and then you need Hasten Fatalis to be able to stick to people because it takes a lot of auto attacks to kill them. You're auto attacking really fast, but it takes a lot. So you want to be able to stick to people. After that, you're just looking for a lot of attack speed and a little bit of penetration. So I like to go into things like Odysseus' Bow. Stone Cutting Sword is a great auto attack item. You can get Executioner, you can get Titan's Bane. You could get Frostbound Hammer, but you don't really need it. So I wouldn't really recommend it. Wing Blade you can get if you're having trouble staying alive, and that sort of thing. Loki, I don't even really want to talk about Loki because he's not really a jungler. He's kind of just a scumbag solo laner that you could play in the jungle if you wanted. But if you're going to play Loki, you want to build all power penetration. A lot of people like to build crit on Loki. I don't like it because he doesn't need it. But if you're going to build crit, you build one crit item and it's Deathbringer. But I like to avoid that, and I like to just go, Warrior Tabby, Transcendence, Jotun's Wrath, Hydra's Lament, Brawler's Beatstick, Titan's Bane, something like that. Maybe Crusher. If you can split push with Loki too, so you can get a Crusher in there too. But yeah, I don't like the crit, but if you're going to do crit, just buy one, make it Deathbringer. Mercury. All right, so for all those fans of of building crit out there, this is the god for you. Mercury has something in basically his first ability has a chance to crit even though it's an ability. And so it lets you, if you build crit with him, you can do insane amounts of poke damage because it's a ranged crit ability basically. So you're going to be building crit with Mercury, and then also he has an auto attack stim, so building crit works well with that too because he's auto attacking a lot. And he's a very auto attack based character. So with Mercury, there's a couple variations to the build. My favorite one is, and this is a pretty specific build. This is one of the few characters that I'll give you a specific build where if you build this all the time, there's very few situations where this is a bad build. And then I'll give you a couple of variations to it. So you're going to want to build Warrior Tabby always, into Wind Demon, into Deathbringer, into Malice, into Aussie, and then into Titan's Bane. There's a couple of variations on this. If you get very far if you get behind a lot, you may not want to go for the Wind Demon right away, so you're going to want to get like something cheaper at first. You could get Winged Blade is one of my favorite alternatives. You can get Hydra's Lament if you want, and then start building into crit the Wind Demon and the Deathbringer, and you'll only go 2 crit items if you do that. You still want to have the Aussie and the Titan's Bane at the end. And you could build Frostbound Hammer second, but it's not really the best choice on him. And you could build Poison Star second, but again, it's not the best choice on him because Poison Star is just not in the best shape as far as crit items are right now. There are better ones out there. And then as far as the Titan's Bane is pretty much mandatory. You could trade it out with a Brawler's Beatstick if they have a lot of healing. And then the Aussie is what I really want to talk about here. A lot of people like to build Bloodforge on Mercury. At first glance, it seems like it's a really good item for him. And it's not bad, but it's really expensive. And the thing is that Bloodforge is okay on Mercury. Like, you're not going wrong if you build Bloodforge on Mercury, but Aussie is better. And the reason is because by the time you get to Aussie, you're going to be in the middle of a fight, auto-attacking a lot of people and critting for massive numbers. I mean, Mercury crits harder than any other god in the game. You're going to be getting crits that are like 600, 800, 1,000. I've crit somebody for like 1,300 damage with Mercury once. And so when you do that and you have Aussie gives you a little extra penetration. It gives you some attack speed, which is good. A little bit of attack speed is good for Mercury. You don't want a lot, but you want a little bit. And then it gives you 15% physical lifesteal, but that increases to, I think, by 25% when you get below a certain threshold of health. It's like 30% or something, 35% of your health. His lifesteal increases to 40%. So you're critting somebody for like 800 or something, and then healing for 300 damage. So you're like healing faster than they can damage you, and so you can just go off and just fight the entire team. And then once you get low, you just start healing back up again so fast, and they can't kill you, and you're doing insane amounts of damage. So Aussie is probably the best item on Mercury ever. Like, it's awesome, and it's so cheap too. It's like half the cost of Bloodforge. So again, if you really, really love Bloodforge, you can buy it, but Aussie's going to do you a lot better in the long run, and it's just a better item in my opinion. Naja is a very ability-based character, but you want to build... There's one crit item that you want to build, which is Deathbringer, because her third ability has a chance to crit, and also her ultimate always crits, basically, and Deathbringer increases that crit damage by 40%. So that's really important. If you're really feeling the crit and you want to have a lot of chance to, like, use her 3 to sash on top of someone and crit, and then auto-attack again and just crit again and one-shot them, you can build Malice if you want. Or Wind Demon, but really I would normally stick to just one crit item, and then since she's ability based, you're building the power and the pen like I mentioned before. I'm not even gonna say it again. You guys know the power and pen items by now. So when I say ability based, build power and pen, you know what I mean. Nemesis. There's a lot of variation on what you can build on Nemesis, and I don't really have one build that I go to with her a lot because she's dynamic, and there's just a lot of ways you can play her. So Nemesis can be built very auto attack based. You can build attack speed and a little bit of defense. So the same attack speed items that I mentioned before. You can also build her more ability damage based. You can build her with Jotun's Wrath and Hydra's Lament and Titan's Bane and a little bit of defense. You can build her with attack speed and crit if you really want to go for like a glass cannon kind of build, or just all attack speed damage. One thing that I will say though on Nemesis is that Hydra's Lament is actually very good on her because you can auto attack cancel with her 3, so you can slow somebody with the 2, auto attack, get the Hydra's proc, then auto attack cancel with the 3 and get another Hydra's proc almost immediately, and it's an insane amount of burst damage. And when you couple that with her ultimate that can reduce health by up to 50% of their maximum or of their current health at max rank, it's an insane amount of burst damage and it's not expected. Ratatosker is all auto attack based, not auto attack based. He's all ability based, so you can be building all power and pen like I mentioned before, and he is one that Hydra's Lament is good on, so you can build that on him. Serket, I'm just going to give you a build because this is just the best build for Serket, and there's basically a slight amount of variation. Serket, you're going to build Warrior Tab, you're going to build Jotun's Wrath, and then you're going to build Deathbringer. 4th slot, you're going to build defense. I like to build Spirit Robe a lot. You can build Breastplate of Valor if they have a lot of physical. You can build Mantle of Discord if you have a lot of gold. But you want to throw some defense item in there, and then you're going to go for Malice and then Titan's Bane. The reason you're building the crit on Serket is because her Deathbane, her number 1 ability that does the most damage that she has a chance to crit, and it hits 3 times. You can crit somebody 3 times with this ability in a row. So it has a chance to do like 1800 damage or something on a squishy. Like you can literally taunt them into your 1, and if it crits 3 times late game, they just die. It's insane. So you want to have that crit, and then some people like to build Hydra's Lament on Serket. I don't like it. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like it increases sort of the damage that you get when you proc her passive, but it doesn't synergize that well with her kit because you don't want to be auto attacking in between her abilities because of her passive. I'm not going to go into her passive right now. You can read it if you're curious. But basically, it promotes you not auto-attacking in between her abilities, which is what you want to do with Hydra's Lament. So, again, it can still work on her, but I don't love it. And I think that it's not a bad item on her, but having a defense item there is more effective and more efficient because she needs a little bit of survivability, and I think it's just a better use of that slot. Susano is all ability-based, so Power Pen, and he's good with Hydra's Lament. Thanatos is, some people try to build him auto attack. Oh, why did I do that? I'm trying to, or whatever. I can't control stuff. Thanatos is all power and pen. Again, I think a lot of people try to build them attack speed based and auto attack based, and I don't think that's a good idea. You can try it if you want. I don't like it. I think you should be building power and pen. You could build Hydras on him if you want. I probably wouldn't recommend it. But you want to have power and pen and a little bit of defense in there. Maybe you might get away with a little bit extra defense on him because his late game isn't the best. So you want to be able to survive a little bit. And then Thor, again, all ability based, power, pen. Hydras is good on him, so you can build that too. And you can throw in a defense item in there. It's probably a good idea to usually throw in a defense item unless you're really ahead, and then you can build all damage if you want. But same thing, power, penetration. So it's kind of a long video, but that is the basic idea of how you're going to be building these warriors. Essentially, if they're more, you kind of got this from saying this over and over and over again, but if they're more ability based, you're building power, penetration, and maybe a little defense depending on the character. If they're auto attack based, you're building attack speed, and maybe a little bit of defense depending on the character. That's kind of a basic intro on how to build junglers. Also, I just want to go over the opening for a jungler. When you play a jungler, you're always building Bumba's Mask, Boots 1. Usually you're going to build Purification. You can get away with Wrath on some junglers, usually the ones that are a little bit tankier. And if the other team doesn't have a lot of crowd control, and then you're building 2 health potions and 2 mana potions, with the exception of a very few number of junglers, because that gives you the best. It's the most efficient number of potions that will usually get you to be able to back and finish your boots at the quickest time. So that's your opening build almost all the time, and then you guys got the builds for the rest of them. And hopefully this gives you an understanding of what sort of the theory crafting behind these builds are and what you're looking to do with your builds, and so you can sort of shake them up as you start to understand them a little better and react to the situation. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, leave a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If there's any other videos you want to see, just let me know in the comments and I'll make those happen. And as always, come check out my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/steelorange3398. Thanks for watching.